This is the story of Jaden and her van. She bought a 2002 Ford window van with the idea of making it into a camper. So she set out to accomplish that with her grandfather. That's me. First, we had to tear it apart, or rather, she had to tear it apart. The rear seats were just in the way, so out they came. Since she was going to be building up a new floor, all of the trim holding the carpeting in place had to come out as well. And then, of course, that old nasty carpeting had to come out, and she had the biggest smile on her face because she's wanted to do that since the day she bought the van. Very satisfying getting that carpeting out of there.
This is so nice.
I decided a vapor barrier of some kind wouldn't be a bad idea. So I got some painter's plastic. It's very thin stuff, too thin actually. And we used some spray adhesive to try to stick that down. A spoiler alert here, it didn't work that well. So now it's time to start building the new floor. I cut some 1-inch pieces of wood to build a frame that would hold the insulation in place. We used stainless steel self-tapping screws to hold the wood, but then with a round head on them, we had to recess the hole so the screw would fit down inside the wood and allow for the plywood flooring to sit flush on the top. Then she pre-drilled the holes for the screws. There was a bit of a learning curve getting the self-tapping screws to actually self-tap and penetrate the sheet metal on the floor. But once she mastered that, they worked very well. And as I said, they're stainless steel, so they'll stay in there and they'll not rust out. It makes for a very tidy installation. I would start here.
Start at the bottom.
At the back and work your way forward. As I said, the vapor barrier wasn't a particularly good idea.
Oh my god. That's just horrible.
We used pocket screws to put the cross pieces in. That was the neatest and most secure way to get them in place. I picked up a couple of sheets of 1-inch styrofoam insulation. It doesn't do much, but it will knock down the sound a little and also provide a little bit of R-value for actual insulation. It is messy to cut, but Jake had the solution. The styrofoam had to be cut to those rectangles that we made when we put the framing down, and cutting a straight line was a bit of a challenge. Let's just say the learning curve was pretty high, again, on that project.
Nice straight line.
I noticed that.
Oh my gosh.
So I will introduce you to the T-square next. How big is it?
28.
You got the 28. How wide is it?
9.5.
Okay, measure 9.5 and make a good mark. Well, she soon got the idea of actually marking a straight line and then following it, so the insulation went in. Next came the floor. Jaden's mom and her friend came by to inspect the progress, and I put them to work. Of course, there's lots of trimming on that floor, wheel wells and things like that. Yeah, make a diagonal cut from this corner to this corner to that corner. That's what you're doing. Even the smallest little cuts are important. The board would not fit into place without this notch. There are a couple of other cuts to be made on this side of the floor. The sliding entry door is here, so a cutout has to be made to allow for the step.
All right.
Let's see if it fits.
Yeah. Let's see if it fits.
Of course it fits. You can see the other cut that had to be made on this side to allow for the wheel well. Okay, it's time to screw the floor into place. We're using 1/2-inch plywood for the deck because there's a good solid frame underneath. And besides, that's what we had, a whole lot of 1/2-inch. And free is a very good price. We're using 1.25" Torx head deck screws to fasten it in place. There's one more piece that still has to go in. At the very back. The area behind the front seats is about 9.5 feet long. So this piece had to be cut to accommodate the full length of the van.
Last one.
Since this wheel well had been carpeted and the carpet went into the trash, she decided to cover it with more of the flooring material. So we made a frame, insulated it, and then covered it in plywood. And then she finished with a little beauty trim. No matter how carefully you make your cuts, there's going to be some gaps between the joints. So I got some filler and handed her a putty knife, and away she went, trying to keep it smooth so there was very little sanding to do. But it was hard to smooth out some of the irregular joints, and she did end up having to sand it. Well, that's going to do it for part 1 of this series on Jake's van. We've both been making YouTube videos for a while, but this is a new channel we set up to devote to projects that we work on together. So we have to start all over again to find subscribers. If you enjoyed this, and you'd like to see more of our projects, and why wouldn't you? Please like and subscribe. That'd be awesome. See you in part 2.